President Putin declared that Russia does not allow global conflict. Experts reveal new clues about the culprit of the Nord Stream pipeline explosion. The reason why America buys a large amount of old Soviet-era aircraft from Kazakhstan. President Putin declared that Russia does not allow global conflict. Speaking to celebrate Victory Day on May 9, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Moscow will do all in its power to prevent a global conflict, but will not allow them to threaten us. He noted that the Russian army is always on alert and ready to protect the country's sovereignty. The West wants to forget the lessons of World War II, but we remember that the fate of humanity was decided in glorious battles near Moscow and Leningrad, as well as other cities, Mr. Putin said. The Russian leader said the country remembers all those who died fighting fascism and those who died in the conflict with Ukraine. President Putin emphasized that Russia is going through a difficult period in its history, noting that the country's future depends on every Russian. We celebrate Victory Day while a special military operation is taking place. All the participants, those on the front lines. Russia is with you. May 9th is always a very emotional day. The day that unites generations. We are moving forward with our centuries-old tradition and believe that together we will ensure a free, secure future for Russia. President Putin proposed a minute of silence to remember fallen veterans. Mr. Putin's speech ended with the sound of cannons and the Russian national anthem. Victory Day parades and events are taking place in more than 300 cities across Russia. Typically, Victory Day celebrations also include a large civilian march, called the Immortal Regiment, in which people carry portraits of relatives who fought with the Nazis. However, this year the march was cancelled due to security concerns. Experts reveal new clues about the culprit of the Nord Stream pipeline explosion. The Nord Stream sabotage was certainly carried out with the financial and material support of at least one country, an international counterterrorism expert said. In the latest developments in the Nord Stream case, on May 8, Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said that Moscow will continue to make efforts to ensure a fair and proper investigation into the Nord Stream gas pipeline explosion. Occurs in September 2022. A representative of the Russian Foreign Ministry also revealed that both Sweden and Denmark, the countries that ended the investigation into the Nord Stream case earlier this year, have refused to cooperate with Russia in the investigation. We hope that relevant parties will reconsider their positions, abandon politicization, and cooperate, Reuters quoted spokeswoman Maria Zakharova as saying. Previously, during the 9,619th session of the United Nations Security Council on April 26, 2024, two senior United Nations officials stated that the United Nations does not have the authority to verify statements or reports related to the United Nations regarding the attacks on the Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 gas pipelines in the Baltic Sea. Mr. Miroslav Jenka, Assistant Secretary General in charge of Europe, Central Asia, and the Americas in the Department of Politics, Construction and Peace Operations, emphasized that the United Nations does not have any additional details other than this information public about the destruction of the Nord Stream gas pipeline in September 2022, and has no authority to verify or confirm claims or reports related to the incident. According to investigations into the Nord Stream incident conducted by Danish, German, and Swedish authorities, explosives were used in the sabotage. In February 2024, the Danish and Swedish authorities notified the Security Council of the conclusion of their investigations. The UN official also called on all relevant parties to exercise restraint and wait for the conclusion of the remaining German investigation. We strongly encourage member states to continue to cooperate and share information to ensure the security of all international waters, including the Baltic Sea, which is vital for trade, security, and safety. Security and stability in the region, he said. The reason why America buys a large amount of old Soviet-era aircraft from Kazakhstan. Late last year, Kazakhstan offered to sell 117 old Soviet-era fighter jets, and now there is information that the U.S. bought 81 of them through foreign intermediaries. Over the past few years, Kazakhstan has gradually replaced its fleet of outdated Soviet-made fighter jets with modern versions, such as the Russian Su-30SM multi-role aircraft, and is in discussions with other countries. Western manufacturers to source suitable fighter aircraft. As part of this process, in October last year, the government of Kazakhstan announced it would auction off 117 Soviet-era fighters and bombers. These include MiG-31 interceptors, MiG-27 bombers, MiG-29 fighters, and Su-24 bombers produced in the 1970s and 1980s. The initial value of the war, the auction is 1 billion tenge, $1.5 million US. The sale indicated that the planes were in unserviceable condition, their upgrade was considered economically impractical, and their utility as a source of spare parts was limited. Despite this, Russia's English-language news site Reporter.ru and Ukraine's Telegram Insider UA channel reported that the U.S. recently purchased 81 aircraft through foreign intermediaries. Among the aircraft delivered as planned are the MiG-27, MiG-29, and Su-24. The reason for the purchase of the aircraft was not announced, but there is growing speculation that, since the aircraft are in service with the Ukrainian army, there is a possibility that they will eventually be transferred to Kiev. The proposal was that the Ukrainian armed forces would disassemble them for spare parts or even use old airframes as decoys as well as false targets at airports to deal with the attacks. Russian attack. In the past, Ukraine's Western allies and partners have purchased or transferred a lot of Soviet-era military equipment to support and supplement Ukraine's weapons.